Well, the 13th of February 2008 was actually a month before the local government elections in Cairns. So I'd been really busily campaigning, and I knew that I needed to stop on that day to be able to find some people to celebrate with. I'd read that Sydney Council was actually going to have giant screens and a sausage sizzle, and everyone was being invited, and it was really going to be a real celebration of the day, and something that had taken a long time to happen. And so, of course, in Cairns, nothing. We had a council that didn't particularly have good relationships with Aboriginal people, and so nothing was organised. So the day before, I contacted some Aboriginal friends to find out what might have been on, and they informed me that the medical centre in Cairns, Wuchopperen, had actually organised to have some big screens and were inviting people to come along and share the day with them. People were gathered around on the lawn, under trees, just quietly in small groups. There weren't very many non-Indigenous people there at all. It was predominantly Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people. I think everyone initially was very serious about it all, and they, at that stage, had no idea what Prime Minister Rudd was actually going to say. And then when he actually said, "I'm sorry," and "I'm sorry," and said it again and again, it wasn't a trivial word at all. It was just something that really needed to be said to enable any chance at all of genuine reconciliation between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Australia. People cried, so there were Aboriginal women sort of next to me with tears welling out of their eyes. It just really was an event of huge significance for Aboriginal people. The fact that the previous Prime Minister had been unable to say that word was quite shocking, really. He just did not understand how important it was to just genuinely to be able to say, for what happened, "I am sorry." Well, one of the first things I did as when I became Mayor on the 15th of March in 2008 was to actually plan the swearing in of council, and to ensure that there was an Aboriginal welcome to country was a key part of that ceremony. And that was not something that had ever happened in council previously. Right from the beginning, I wanted to signal that I was governing for everyone in this community, and that included Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. One of the other things that I did was to actually form an Indigenous advisory group. Again, as part of that recognition that we need to be reaching out to Aboriginal people, listening to them, respecting where they come from, and getting advice in relation to how we actually develop our policies. Look, I'm not sure how Aboriginal people feel about the aftermath of the apology. I think that there perhaps is a greater acknowledgement across Australia, though, with non-Indigenous people, most of whom have very little interaction with Aboriginal people on a day-to-day basis. That they were the traditional owners of the land, that they were disrupted in really terrible ways, and that their lives have been impacted on from those events that happened 2 centuries ago. And not even 2 centuries ago. I mean, events that happened as recently as in a generation, where there's been prejudice, disadvantage, discrimination on almost a daily basis.
My dad was from up at Lakefield National Park. He was born up there in the 1930s, and he was a half-caste boy, because in those days the government took all the half-caste children away. He's a Guku Taipan person. When his mom used to, he remembered his mom taking him and then painting him with charcoal, and so that he'd become black. And he reckoned he used to wonder then, as he was growing up then, he used to wonder how come his mother was painting him all the time. He said, Mom, how come? She said, no, I gotta paint you because the police gonna come and take you away. So what she did then, she had to give him over to the shepherds. They were sort of people who ran the station. And it was him and another young lass who was also then, because she was half-caste. The government then said that all these half-caste children had to be shifted away. But he said then often then he cried then to say that I can't see my mother anymore, can't see my father. So at the age of 7 then they brought him on a train. He said all he remembered doing is coming down on this train that was smoking. And he came to Cooktown, and he said, I remember coming down and then standing there, and then these people came, they were white people came and got me. And he said, I remember my mother, she was a full-blood woman, she was there crying. And then the police officers came over and said, then, oh, well, we've got someone there to take you. And he said, then after I remember, then they took us over on this boat, then over to Cape Bedford. He never ever met his mom then. And every time we'd ask him, he'd say, your grandmother was a dark woman, but I don't know where she's buried. But tears used to fall down in his eyes. He used to start crying. And then we were saying that, then no wonder why Dad was upset, because he was one of the stolen generation. Yeah, there was sort of like, that's why then I'm sort of like strong in child replacement, in that with children's service. That we were saying then I feel that if my father went through it, that's why then I got on as a chairperson for RATSIC and working with child safety, that we don't take these children away now from their parents. Because by us getting to put them into Cairns, they will lose their culture. So that's why I'm strong to say we got to have registered carers in the community, so that those children don't lose their identity. They don't lose their language. Because as a person who, my dad was a stolen generation, he lost his identity, he lost his language. Now we had learned the Kuki-Imitan instead of learning our own tongue, what is Kuku-Taipan. So it's sort of like I feel now that we need now to change it, that the children don't become stolen generation. At least, and I'd like to thank Kevin Rudd for saying sorry. I think it was a bad time that government did turn it around, because I think they know the pain here if they took their children away.
My name is Herman Bambie, and I was born around here and lived ever since here. This is my home, and it's a traditional land of my father, a Tupiwara clan, and I'm the eldest of the family. Mom came from Stonehenge. She was taken away from there, I think, when she was 6 years old, and brought to Cooktown, and they had her in the watch house with her sister for a fortnight, and then taken over to Cape Bedford Mission. And she grew up there, didn't know the language. She had her own language, but when she came there, while she was growing up, she forgot about it. Well, when we went down to Urabinda, in wartime we came back. Well, I started working around here, and I worked in various jobs, timber cutting. That's been a part of the job, timber cutting. Well, I was in my prime, then we might say, like in my 20s, We the one that cut the timber for the church. We should work. No money. I still remember we should line up out here for in a roll call in the morning. And the only thing, what, we used to get a plug of tobacco. I think they reckon it's Aboriginal juice, I still got the hair today, like for Mum, when she passed away. She never went back to her home. We don't know her surname. I don't know where she got the name. They named her Lissy, and she had a sister Bessie. But I don't know if they named her over there in the mission, or she went over there with that name. And we traveled back to Stony just a few years ago to find the family. But everyone we found there, they reckon, they probably moved on. But like what the Prime Minister said, sorry. But I don't know what he meant by that, He said sorry, but the hate that I got, I don't think that nobody will take that away from me. I still think about it today, and I'm hoping that one day, someone will turn up to my home and say, I'm one of your family, but I'm getting in age now, but I'm about 68 now, I don't know if I will see him, but if anybody see this strip here, they'll probably know, where I'm coming from. They might be the family, But I'll leave my phone number with you, and they can, if they want to ring me up,